Thank you for watching the virtual forum with Janet Gaston, a Republican candidate in the Ward 6 Tupelo City Council race. My name is Taylor Vance, and I'm a local government reporter for the Daily Journal. This was originally intended to be a debate between the two Republican candidates in the Ward 6 runoff election, but Janet's opponent, Mike Bryant, is not participating in the debate. He told me that he would be unavailable this week, which I think is a bit disappointing. It's always disappointing when candidates in either political party or no matter what race cannot commit to a debate or a forum publicly. So instead, we would just have an extended forum with Janet so she can share her vision with Ward 6 and answer a few questions. Janet Gaston will compete against Mike Bryant in the Republican runoff in Ward 6 on April 27th. The winner of the runoff will compete against Rashida Ayanda, the only Democratic candidate in the race. So I'll just lay out just a few rough rules for the event today. Janet, you will have a 2-minute opening statement at the beginning, and then I will ask a series of general questions about city government and your positions and your position on a few issues. I'll also ask some specific questions about your campaign or your platform or things that you've previously said in interviews, and you will have 1 minute to answer those questions. Then at the end, you will get a 2-minute closing statement, and those are the rules. So do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. Well, we can move on to the opening statement, and you have 2 minutes.
Okay. Of course, I'm Janet Gaston, and I have lived in Tupelo, Mississippi for 25 years. I have 3 children and 2 stepdaughters. My children attended public schools in Tupelo and did very well, and we're very lucky to be here. I have 30 years of banking experience. I'm retired. I feel that my experience, my banking experience and financial analysis, as well as managing a credit department and a corporate development training program, has given me the skill set that I need to do a really good job in city council. I have the analytical skills that I need to help me make sound financial decisions, which are very important. And I also have the management skills that will help me work with others and towards a common goal. And I think that we are all in this together, and our goals should always be common, and we should be working towards making Tupelo a better place to live.
Now we'll move right into the questions.
Okay.
And the first question is about infrastructure here in Tupelo. What do you believe is the most urgent or pressing infrastructure need in Ward 6? And what do you think that you could do about it?
Okay. As I have walked through neighborhoods in Ward 6, it's pretty evident that there are some neighborhoods that are worse off than others as far as the conditions of their roads. Some roads are just crumbling and they have drainage issues. So to me, the neighborhoods that have the worst problems right now need to be addressed first. So, and I think it has an impact on their home values, because when you drive through these neighborhoods and there's potholes, there's crumbling asphalt, there's pools of water, drainage issues, those things need to be addressed pretty quickly.
Just any ideas about how you think that you as a member of the city council could tackle that?
Well, I think what I need to do is go to the appropriate department and say, here's the areas that I think need to be addressed first. Here are the neighborhoods, and where are they on your list of priorities? And if that list of priorities doesn't line up with where I think they should be, then I need to have a discussion, maybe, with the department head and the mayor or whoever. We need to work these things through.
Gotcha. Okay. And the next question is about the local economy. Tupelo's often considered the economic hub of Northeast Mississippi. But according to a study commissioned by Facebook recently, around 61% of Mississippi's small businesses, and this was statewide, but about 61% of Mississippi's small businesses have recently reported in the survey that they experienced a decrease in sales because of the pandemic. And so what do you think that you could do to help small businesses, just both in Ward 6 and in the city as a whole?
Well, Tupelo is definitely a small business friendly town. It always has been. I think we're known for our small businesses. I think people come to Tupelo to shop at some of our local retail shops. They definitely come here to go to the restaurants that are locally owned. And I think we definitely need to do what we can do to help that industry. But also, I want to point out that there's some things that small business owners can do now that would help them. There is some information on a website called tupelotogether.com. And that website will give them information about financial assistance that's available right now. So we don't have to wait, another 6 months. There's some things that, some private sector things and some public sector funds that are available. And that website is sponsored by CDF. So there are resources now that I feel like need to be used to move these small businesses along until the revenues return to normal, until the workforce is available so that they can, hire people to wait tables, hire people on sales staffs at retail stores. And, that's also an issue. There's not enough of a workforce to fill some of the positions so that they can get back up to 100% of capacity.
All right. And now the next topic is local law enforcement.
Okay.
The city currently has a police advisory board, which was created to be a liaison between the community and the police department. So do you support the existence of the city's police advisory board? And if so, do you have any ideas for maybe how it could be more effective, or would you make any changes to the board to make it more effective?
It's a great way to increase communication and have honest dialogue. I think we need to have the honest dialogue in that type of setting so people can feel like they're heard. It's very important to me to be heard, and I know that's important for anybody, especially when you're in a situation, where there's tension. So hopefully, and I would like to know, is this board still active? How active are they? Are they communicating with other boards of this type in other towns to see, okay, what are you doing in these circumstances? And what did you learn from what happened in your city? What can we learn from other cities so that we don't make the same mistakes? But we have to have the dialogue. I don't see how we can do without it.
And just to follow up to that, as a member of the city council, you would get to appoint a person to that advisory board. So I'm just curious, what do you think some of the characteristics would be, or what would the criteria be for you to determine, if you are elected, who you would appoint to that board?
I think somebody that's open-minded, somebody that's level-headed, somebody that can listen and respond after they've heard, somebody complete their sentence. I mean, it would have to be somebody who was patient, but insightful not just, about their own circumstances, but about other people's circumstances.
To go along with this, a new mayoral administration will take over in July, which means that he will appoint people in vacant positions, and particularly in department head roles. One of these will be the police chief. The current police chief has announced that he will retire at the end of June, and so regardless of who is elected mayor, he will be appointing the next police chief. And so the city council does get to confirm or reject a mayor's department head appointees. So I'm just curious, since this is a very real scenario that we know will play out over the next year, what would your criteria be, and how would you evaluate whether you should confirm or reject any of the mayor's department head appointees?
Well, first of all, I want to know their depth of experience in law enforcement. I mean, that's number one. Second, I would want to know, how have you managed other people? And give me, tell me what your experience in management is, because that's a huge part of this job. And the third thing I would want to know, what are some of the things that you want to do in, our police force differently? Are the things that you want to change? Because if there are, I want to know what they are. I don't want to be surprised. The other thing is, how are you going to be effective in keeping not only our city safe, but our neighborhood safe? So those are the things that I would ask.
Okay, well, the next topic is about the city's budget. The council must adopt a budget for the city's next fiscal year by September 15th. And so that is one of the first major actions that the new council will undertake. And in Tupelo's form of government, the city council does control the purse strings. And so, how do you think you would approach the city's budget of over $30 million? And is there anything that maybe you would specifically change, or anything you would look for? Just how would you really go through looking at the budget?
Well, since I have 30 years of banking experience, I've looked at several municipality and cities this size financial statements over the years. They can be pretty complicated. So what I would do is I would just go line by line, for one thing, for each department, and look at, let's compare what they had last year to compare what they're budgeting for next year. Is that reasonable? Are their expenses in line with what they've always had? Or are there, more expenses, and why? Some of the things, of course, I'm interested in the infrastructure and the street maintenance and repairs. I'd want to look at those numbers and say, okay, how do they compare to last year? If they're the same, what is that going to get us? Is that going to get us to, these neighborhoods and do the repairs that need to be done, or do we need to budget more money for that? So I would look at it on a line by line basis, because if you don't understand what has gone on in the past, you don't know if what they're budgeting for in the future is reasonable.
Yeah. The next question is, in a previous interview with me, you said that one thing you would like to see happen is some improvements made, I believe it was Thomas Street Park, or yes, the park over on Thomas Street, which is not in Ward 6, but it's like right on the edge, and a lot of people in Ward 6 in that area walk over and use that park. And so how do you think that you would try to convince a new mayoral administration and three of your fellow colleagues, if you're elected, three of your fellow members of the council, to support this proposal?
I think I would talk about the potential users of that park. And I think that would be something that I would bring to the forefront and say, if I have had, and tell them that I have had people who live in the area ask me about this and tell me they want it, and tell me why they want it. I mean, it's not just, something for children, maybe something like exercise station for adults. So I would go and just give the reasons that have been given to me. I feel like I'm sort of the liaison. So when my constituents, and numbers of them, come to me and tell me they feel like they need something, I'm going to ask them why they want it. I'm going to ask them, how much use do you think you're going to get out of it? I think it's a quality of life issue. There's really some small things that can be done, and I think we would get a big return on that, especially that small little green space. Spruce it up a little bit. It's a place that people would want to go and want to spend time with their family.
are all the questions that I have.
Okay.
Yeah. We can now move on to your closing statement, and you have 2 minutes for your
Okay.
closing statement.
One of the things that I want to emphasize is the kind of person that I have always been and was raised to be is to leave a place better than I found it. And that's basically what drives me to want to do this job. I want to have an impact on financial stability, on economic progress, on the quality of life for our citizens. I will listen, I'll respond, I will follow up. The way I look at this job is I'm somewhat of a customer service representative. So my job is to listen and respond. And, there's things that I don't know about this job. I've never started a new job and didn't have a huge learning curve on it. But I do learn quickly and I respond quickly and I care about this city and I do want to leave it better than I found it. And I appreciate what Tupelo has done for me. I'm retired. I have time to do this.
Concludes our forum with Janet Gaston. I want to thank her for participating in this, and I just want to thank everyone who watches this debate. The date for the runoff election is Tuesday, April 27th. I hope this forum, even though it may have been brief, I hope that it was informative and helped you decide who to vote for. Polling precincts will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And I would encourage anyone who watches this to contact the municipal clerk's office at City Hall to find out which specific precinct you vote at and other questions about the runoff election. Please follow the Daily Journal for more coverage of municipal elections. And again, thank you for watching.